Yeah, Lennox soap was the one that was right after Ivory, okay? So this is some of their mass marketing. So the whole Procter & Gamble would not exist if it wouldn't be for what? Pigs, okay? And an interesting story about the Procter & Gamble brothers and entrepreneurs, this I actually teach you. What do you think Procter & Gamble did? Where did they get the money to build this company? They married the twin daughters of the richest guy in town, right? So you got to use everything in your toolbox to make this thing. I haven't got this article published yet, but I'm actually meeting with Peter Mattia, who's going to be a speaker Monday for me. That's the new editor for the Inquirer. I've written an article called the Parkopolis Legacy, P&G and its 6 little sisters. So what's Parkopolis?
Cincinnati.
Right, but also, so what am I referring to? The first part's the pigs, right? And they begat what? These soap companies.
Yes.
So the soap companies would be P&G, which is king. And then you got Emery, there's an Emery building on this campus. You got Jergens, which you know is a different name. You got Dracket, which you know is a different name. This Dubois Chemicals that I've been talking about. Federal Colors, which is now a different company. And Hilton Davis, which still operates under the Hilton Davis name. So, we showed you the empty lot for Conn's.
Yep.
Immediately north of it is what? What was this building called?
Isn't that,
What was the name of the fancy soap that they built there? The one that preceded Norton? Ivorydale. So they called it Ivorydale. This was the most sophisticated. You had to be, this is the engineering building. Anybody that was working in this building or running it were the chemical engineers of their day. So this is a big building. So it was, Conn's was built in 1882. This was built in 1883. Why? Because all they had to do was go next door and get the raw materials. Okay? Then there's another thing with all the divestors that P&G had. What's this called now?
I was going to ask, is it the St. Bernard's
Soap Company.
Soap Company?
Right. Because what did P&G want to do? Spin off the stuff that they weren't expert. They were expert in advertising and mass marketing and that stuff. And so we'll let somebody supply it. We'll put the screws to them because we're Procter & Gamble. We won't have to pay those people the same kind of P&G benefits.
Yeah.
And who do you think ran those things for P&G?
St.
Or
Bernard.
St. Bernard Soap Company?
P&G.
Ex-P&G guys who'd go to a private equity fund and ponied up the money because what did they have? No, well, they had cash. What did St. Bernard Soap Company have?
Soap.
A customer.
Oh, okay.
Okay? So that's the one to the north. What's this one to the south? Andrew Jergens and Son Manufacturing. So you would know it as the name will so shortly. So did your grandma use Jergens lotions? So every woman in America before she went to bed for 70 years would get this little pump bottle and she'd go out to keep her hands and then she might put it on her face. But Jergens lotion, Jergens soap, from a cosmetic standpoint, were a really big deal nationally and because it was here. So why, you would be a little surprised perhaps that the third, everybody know what a SIC number is, Standard Industrial Classification? The third most important SIC number in Cincinnati is chemicals and soaps. There's 300 different companies making chemicals and soaps in the greater Cincinnati area. And P&G, this slide's a little old, they don't, because they've just done what? They've spun off 30% of their employees, right? So, and then what's the name of Jergens soap today? Who owns it?
Is it Johnson & Johnson?
No. You might look at bullet number 2.
KL Brands?
Yeah, okay. So that's down on Spring Avenue. Remember that old funky place we just showed you?
Mm-hmm.
That's where they are.
Oh, really?
Okay. Where are they headquartered? which is also happening a lot in Cincinnati. Japan, okay? So they sold Andrew Jergens Soap Company, one of the most important companies in Cincinnati, to the Japanese, and then they said, well, we own it, we're gonna call it what we wanna own it. So there's over 300 companies working in this sector in Cincinnati, employing over 35,000 people. You would have thought, gee, working there for a long time, I might have been a chemist. Yeah, you get a lot of chemists. It was the guys that actually ran the sales and marketing and got the customers that were the most important. But having these engineers and chemists were pretty important. Yes, sir?
Yeah, so what are the number 2 and number 1, the most important SIC numbers in Cincinnati?
We'll get to that.
All right.
Okay? You're sitting in one of them, and if you get sick, you're going to go to the other one. Okay? We'll see that in a second. So again, these are some of the names of the biggest companies in Cincinnati that have their origins to 1788 in a what? Pig. Okay? So it would be P&G, Cal, L'Oreal, Emery. Anybody ever hear of BASF? They're a $100 billion company out of Germany that provides all these chemicals. They used to have an ad, they said, you never heard of BASF, but we make the things that make it softer or more colorful. So they're the things that are going into paints for your automobiles, for your house, all those different things. Cargill would be another one that's got a big operation here. Okay, now we're going to transition. So what is this store by any chance? Kroger. It just happens to be the newest, biggest store that Kroger has, the Oakley store, where my class last semester did the beta testing on a thing called ClickList. But one of the things that, can you see this?
Mm-hmm.
So how many of you have eaten at Don Pablo's in Hyde Park Plaza? Okay. So this is 2 miles east of this, and what is that? Big smokestack. Yeah, but going back, and that's going to be one of our next industries, what you ever see, boy, that's a really big smokestack. What the hell do they have? And it's got a fleur-de-lis on it. Mm-hmm. So that fleur-de-lis was a company called LeBlanc, which was the second biggest machine tool maker in North America. You see where this is?
Yeah.
This is the site of the company that was the number 2 employer in Cincinnati for many, many years. And that was Cincinnati Millicron. So you think, oh God, we got a nice little movie theater and we got a state-of-the-art Kroger's and all that. There used to be 22,000 top-notch jobs on that site on Madison Road. Okay? So, any of you guys have heard of ClickList? Okay, tell them what ClickList is.
Basically, you can go online to Kroger, and basically they'll go into the store and shop for you. You just write down all of your items, and they'll go get it for you, and then you pull your car up, and they'll just load your car for you like Home Depot.
Yeah, and one of my daughters has worked in mostly Manhattan and Boston. And she says, what's the big deal? I've been getting groceries in New York City delivered to my door for 10 years. Right. But you aren't going to get a right kumquat, you're not going to get the right kind of roast beef, this kind of stuff. But here's, you guys recognize any members of Kamal, Eric, Susan, I forget the girl. So they would be all in your class, would be seniors and took this class last semester. Their job was to help in their case study, the initiation of this checklist program. It had literally started the store opened November 11th. They were in there the week after. And this lady here is what's called a picker. So you tell them what a picker does.
So basically they just shop for you. They go around, they grab all your items for you.
So you take your device, you order what you want. This lady all picks them up for you. And they got about 30 people. Some of them are your age. Are you a good shopper? You probably don't know squat, right? So if you want to get lean roast beef, they wouldn't give it to you. They're going to give you the Captain Crunch, and you're going to run around. And she's going to get much slower, but she's going to know what the hell she's doing, so they give her the more difficult ones. So anyhow, the students in my class actually got to participate in this. So my first speaker a couple of years ago was a guy that I actually played high school, another guy, Bob Fullerton, 6'11". He worked for Procter. He played 10 years professionally, some of it in Spain. He became fluent Spanish, got a job for Procter & Gamble. He was the head of, this is a great job, disposable adult diapers in Mexico. Great job, huh? And then he was the 4th guy ever hired by dunnhumby. And dunnhumby was really part of a Kroger-like company in England that spun off a division that did market research. And about 12 years ago, they sent a little email to Kroger saying that we think you could help you. So, and then more recently, they spun off half of it. And now what is the part of dunnhumby that's owned by Kroger's? What do they call it? Prince Henry the Navigator should know this. 8451. And what does 8451 mean? It's the longitude of where their building is in downtown Cincinnati, which I think is kind of stupid because I have a hell of a time remembering where the degree sign is on my, and it's different in one system than it is in another. But anyhow, the students had a real good time, and Kroger, I just read in the paper today, they're the 3rd largest retailer in the world, behind Walmart and somebody else. They used to be the 6th. So what was their marketing strategy? So Barney Kroger started Kroger as a grocery store in 1880, about the same time as all this Procter & Gamble and Cow and Jergens and all this stuff was going on. And then he thought, well, I'll expand, I got a bakery, then I'll add meat, then I'll add that, then I'll have these stores. And it's grown into Kroger alone with its gasoline sales, I own a decent amount of Kroger stock. Last year, or they're going to do this year, 117 billion. Okay, trimmed down, P&G is going to do 60 billion. P&G is more profitable. But last year, Kroger sold more gasoline than anybody except one company in the United States of America. They sold about $13 billion worth of gasoline. So when dunnhumby came in and said, you guys got the wrong idea. You're running out there trying to get new customers. What you really ought to do is sell more to your existing customers. Give them some premium for shopping at Kroger's. Give them a card. Give them that. And then guess what? When they got them a card and they got all this information, data mining, they know, and it's really these guys, amazingly, the head of e-commerce for Kroger is from Appleton, Wisconsin. I didn't know him until a couple of years ago. But he and some of his guys from 8451, student team will send in their parents normally shopping, and they'll tell them why they do it, what they do, and they say, oh, God, why is my mother buying, why is she in the upper 2 percentile for kitty litter or something like that? But it's kind of amazing. So anyhow, this is the newest thing. So here's an old industry, old deal, now innovation. If you're trying to get a job with 8451 or dunnhumby, you probably need not always, but the top guys got PhDs in statistics, linear regressions, a lot of statisticals, math kind of stuff. Why? Because they're mining this data. So P&G was the trendsetter for market research, and we're going to see some of the companies, Kroger, Macy's, Brandery, and all that kind of stuff really emanates from Procter & Gamble, but you see that Jergens did a lot of consumer marketing, and your grandmothers would have all watched in the middle of the day, would have watched these kind of shows when they weren't working and women stayed home and raised the family, soap operas, which were the principal way. So Jergens was pushing their products just as much as P&G was back in those days, which why they got to be really good at marketing. And that's dunnhumby and all the different ones that we had. And then some of the Cincinnati brands that you're going to see, all these, and what's the only problem with these brands as of 2 months ago? About a third of them went away. So Duracell's not with them anymore, etc. So we're going to go on. How much more time we got?
Well, class is technically over.
Okay, so I'll do this quickly. You were talking about one of the Everybody know where GE is? Out on 275? Who do you think built that plant? And this is a brand new book, came out with David McCullough. Wright brothers. That was the Curtiss Wright engine plant during World War II that built all the engines they used on propeller planes. And then when the English came up with the model for new jet engines, the government took it over and they sold it to General Electric, which is why it's General Electric. So this was another prominent industry. I'll click through some of these. And so it's another big employer. And with the new thing down on the banks, it was better to have gotten those operations than the new headquarters that's moving to Boston because they were mad at Connecticut, because that only had 500 jobs to it. So some of these are there. And then the just last one is the machine tool industry, which back in 1833 was the biggest. Here's another book that I can get for you for 1884, which is where they started. This is what an old machine tool would have looked like. This is a book that showed how important during World War II, Millicron was to the defense effort. The largest machine tool maker now happens to be in northern Kentucky. It's called Mazak, which is the middle initial of Yamazaki Machine Tool Company. But in the age of xenophobia against Japanese in the 1970s, they thought they'd call it Mazak. But that was another one of my teams. So Millicron still got some people, but these are the machine tool, heavy manufacturing people that are still in Cincinnati. The last one is the BioHealth, which is when you think of UC Health and all those things. Meridian Bioscience down in Newtown. Anybody know where Newtown is? One of the case study people for that. Assurex Health, you ever heard of Assurex Health? Anybody go to Mason High School? It's gone, you talk about entrepreneurs, in the last 4 years it's gone from 0 employees to 300 employees. And they do the things that they take a DNA swab and tell you whether or not you're going to have any trouble with your mental health medicine. And this is Michael Fisher. Story about him. His grandfather was the president of DuBois Chemicals. When my boss came in and bought it from W.R. Grace, the first thing he did was fire his grandfather because he didn't need him. And they started another chemical company. But this is Michael Fisher, the head of Children's Hospital. That's all, folks. Thanks for the attention.
Oh, man. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Oh, can somebody take a picture of Tom and I, and maybe a couple of you? You'd be great, and the only lady in the class, why don't you get the photos too?